guys, so I thought I'd do another quick tips video, and this time I'm going to be talking about watering and soil temperatures and moisture content and such. And so I have my handy little temperature sensor and my moisture probe that I'm going to use just to show you some examples of things that we think and what the actual readings say. So first of all, I have actually just started watering in this area here. I haven't watered at all over here or over here. So I'm going to come into each area and show you the difference between moisture content of each spot and explain a little bit why you're seeing on the meter what you're seeing. So this spot over here in this garden bed is typically quite dry, and it's quite compacted. It's an area that I walk on a lot, and it's also an area that I don't tend to water very much at the moment because I don't have a lot of stuff growing here that needs it. So first of all, I'm going to make sure that my probe is set to moisture, and it's just a case of pushing it into the earth as far as I can. Again, it is a bit compacted over here, but you'll notice that it pushed in quite easily as we got down through the top layer. And you'll see here that the read on the moisture scale is pretty dry. Okay, so needles here, the side's dry, the side's wet. So I haven't watered over here at all, and as I figured it was going to be, it's pretty dry. I also haven't been watering, as I say, in this area much at all. So next we're going to go over here, and this is an area that I have been watering, not as much as say these areas, but I'll get to why in a second. But this has had some moisture put down, some water put down on it over the past couple of weeks quite regularly, and we've had a few lots of rain. So I'll just come over here and find a spot sort of in the middle. I'm expecting this to sort of be dry to mid. So we'll go in right by this capsicum plant here, and we'll go down to the same level as what we did with the other side. And even though it looks really dry, it turns out that it's actually reasonably moist. It's coming up into the area where we'd prefer it to be. So that hasn't been watered yet today, but for these plants that are here, turns out it's actually got a pretty decent moisture content. So next deal, we're going to come over here, and again, I have just recently, literally in the last 10 minutes, watered this area, and I'm expecting this area to be actually not overly wet, but still adequate for what's planted here. We've got some corn seeds that I put in the ground 4-5 days ago, and they're just popping up now. So that's what these little guys are. So we're going to go into the same level as what we did with the other ones, and as you can see, it's right in that exact spot where we want it to be. So that tells me that the first spot is going to need a lot of watering. This spot is done, we don't need to water this now, and the previous spot needs just a little bit of watering. When I say just a little bit of watering though, what I need to stress is I spent, just in this area here, I spent about 15 minutes with the hose on relatively high pressure for a good 15 minutes just for this area. And that's because that is what we need at this time of the season. It's also not enough just to check, obviously, minutes after you've watered. You need to check at different periods throughout the day to double check that you're maintaining the moisture. So it's not just that the moisture's going in, the probe's reading it, yeah, it's good, it's moist, and then you walk away and 4 hours later it's bone dry again. So essentially what that tells me is my watering routine in here has been adequate because this section over here hasn't been watered since it would be probably more than 24 hours ago. So that area is still totally fine. I wouldn't probably want to let it go any longer without watering, but it is okay. So it just goes to show, again, I expected this area to be actually drier than what it turns out it is, and you can see that an area that's literally only a metre or so away went from really too dry to perfectly adequate, and they're right next door to each other. There's nothing dividing them. It's all still the same ground. The only difference is this gets regularly watered and watered well, that doesn't. So just keep in mind, you can think that you're watering well and that your ground is adequately moist for your plants, and yet things are still going wrong. Get one of these guys. If you're not getting good readings from a meter like that, or if you're concerned that you're not getting good germination, try a temperature sensor. Try checking the soil temperatures, because some seeds need higher temperatures than others to germinate, and that's why in a lot of cases in the spring it's better to germinate in a hothouse than it is direct sow into the ground, just simply because the soil temps haven't come up high enough yet for whatever seeds that you're putting in. So anyway, I hope that helps, just gives a little bit of perspective on watering. One last thing that I did want to mention in respect to watering is methods of watering. I have gone away from using sprinklers and hose lines and drip lines and such, because I found that I just wasn't getting enough water on the ground where I needed it. So I have literally gone back to my hose with a nozzle, and I sometimes will put it on more of a spray setting and tie it to my fences and just let it spray all over that area for 10 minutes. I might set it on a finer mist setting for, say, the tomato garden. I'll set it on a finer mist setting and actually leave it for a couple of hours. That does waste a bit of water, but for the area it seems to work well. And I don't have any concerns, given that we do have an excessive amount of water that we draw from our pond to water the gardens. But it's all about making the most of what you've got, especially if you're on town water or if you're on smaller barrels of water that you've collected, getting it directly onto the soil rather than wasting it on a spray that's just going to get onto the foliage and not actually get down into the ground where the roots need it. So again, hope that helps, hope that was informative, and that's just another one of our quick tips and tricks videos. Hope you guys are enjoying the series. Any comments, questions, suggestions, put them in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.